Well, hello, service pros. Welcome to another episode of Simpro Presents series, where we highlight innovations and inspirations fueling the growth of field services. I am Jason Smith. I am your host. I am the GM of Financial Services at Simpro. And over the last several years, I have worked very closely with trades of all sizes, all segments, but always with a slant around payments and financial service lending perspective. Today, I'm very excited for this conversation about finding and retaining employees, especially in our core segments of Gen Z, and how technology is at the core of hiring, retention, and best practices. I'd like to welcome Ryan England, CEO of Core Matters and the host of Titans of the Trades podcast. Ryan, it's great connecting with you. I swear, every time you and I have a conversation, I get that much smarter.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Well, we're very excited. Today Ryan will share his insights on how businesses can attract, retain talent with a focus around the Gen Z workforce. He's also going to discuss, the role of technology as a powerful tool for overcoming some of those workforce challenges, improving employee retention, and boosting the overall operational efficiencies for the trades, and really looking at it at a people first approach. But before we jump in, Ryan, why don't you tell the audience, us, a little bit about you and the vision and the origin of Core Matters?
Yeah. My name is Ryan England, CEO and founder of Core Matters, also best-selling author of Hire Better People Faster, and a little cheat sheet on how to do some of this stuff. I got started doing this because my dad was an owner operator. And I don't know how many owner operators you know, but they leave what they're doing and they have this vision of, I will have more time, more money, more freedom. I get to run my own company. I can do this. And inevitably, 10 years down the road, they wake up and go, wait a minute, this business owns me. I don't own this business. And that was my dad. And so I remember spending time with him down at the shop, learning the trades, seeing what he was going through. I did like any good son and said, I'm not going into the family business. And I went the corporate route, went to college, did all of that. And when I came out, I thought, I need to help people like my dad. I need to help people like my dad grow their business, scale their business. And I went into it thinking it was a revenue issue. He didn't have enough customers. And if he did, that would fix the problem. Turned out it had nothing to do with customers, had everything to do with his team. He struggled to build a team he could trust. And what I found in my days in corporate and through college is that most of the time building a team isn't about getting lucky or finding the right people. It's about having the right skills, the right techniques, the right system to attract people. And so I started teaching that to contractors, and I haven't looked back since. I've loved it every day.
That's amazing. You are truly one of these success stories. I kind of look at it. You're an advisor, you're a strategist, and you're a little bit therapist here as well.
Every once in a while.
So hopefully you've got a very big couch for the entire trades industry.
Not yet, but you know what? I know people that can build one for me.
Well, there we go. It's interesting, as we look at this, I think you nailed it too. It really is about the people. It is about the leadership, especially in these trades. I think we overlook this. I think the amazing thing in our space, your space as well, it's, we have these amazing technology and platforms and tools that, we all live in this tech first world. And I'm a big fan of, working smarter, not harder. And,
Mhm.
That is a nice piece to this. But, as we see a lot of these transitions, I think we are moving to this digital first generation as we're looking at Gen Zs and this. So I appreciate what you do. And I love the fact that it really does come down to that human element. It is
Mhm.
the people that are driving this business. And it's funny, I was just given an article recently about Google investing about $10 million in the to bankroll. I think that it was in Electrical Review recently in the last week.
Yeah.
And, Google is the headline is bankrolling electrician training in the US to help meet some of the new technology demands and advances. And I think that is fabulous. But I also think what you're touching on, it really is about the people in this and really getting down to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a contractor, doesn't matter what your trade is, your product, your service, what you sell are your people. And the more skilled
Yeah,
they are, the more invested they are, the more bought in they are, the more productive they'll be,
yeah,
the more profitable you'll be. And it takes some work to make that happen. I love that article. You shared that article with me about Google and the investment, and I caught the line that, Google's not doing this altruistically. They know that there's no one to pull fiber if there are not enough electricians. And so they're limited on how they can grow. So it is a great investment, but they do recognize that. And but there's so much that's missed in that. It's not a money problem that we have.
yeah,
It is an image problem. Kids today do not want to go into the trades. And more importantly, and this is where we're all missing it, the parents don't want their kids going into the trades. No one's having that conversation. We're all talking about how do we get in the schools? How do we get in schools? I don't care about schools. How do I get mom and dad to come home and say, you know what, son? I know what you're going to do when you grow up. You're going
yeah.
to be an electrician.
Well, we need them. We need everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Do you think, you know, if I had a nickel for every time I heard, "Oh my gosh, there's a labor shortage here and here," I would have my own rocket and I'd be
Yeah.
on the moon. But, from your perspective, is that reality? What we're reading about is this shortage. Is it real?
So I like to use the term labor crisis because we
Yeah.
absolutely have one. Do we have a shortage? Maybe. Are there open jobs that aren't being filled? Sure. But I don't think that translates directly to shortage. What I know is most of the people listening to this right now, and most people in the trades, they at the end of the year issue many more W 2s than they have employees. Many more. And if I think about that for a second, that means they were really good at hiring, but they weren't so good at keeping. So does that mean we have a shortage? Or does that mean we have a bunch of contractors that are doing something that hasn't worked for the last 30 years, don't know how to change, and therefore are perpetuating this problem? I think there are plenty of people out there that want these jobs. They struggle with the lack of training programs. There's a few out there, but they're big ones. The trade schools aren't doing any service and they're expensive. Most contractors don't like hiring from the trade schools for whatever reason. So we have people that want these jobs, but there's a lack of entry into the trades. And we don't talk about that enough. We talk about apprenticeship programs, but then people go, okay, how do I get started in one? Well, there's not one in your area. Well, that doesn't help me. And so I think that is where we're at. Do we have a crisis? Yes. Do we have a shortage? Arguably, maybe.
Well, what do you think it is? I mean, you're talking about these entry points. I mean, if I put my my sales and marketing hat on, it sounds like it might be a marketing challenge too. And as you're describing attracting talent and retaining talent, what's the company's responsibility as a part of that? And do you think it is perception? Do you think it is marketing? What do you think it is? Or brand presence?
We absolutely have a reputation and an image problem in the industry. Absolutely. And I think of it like this. In 1990s, the newspapers and the libraries were hearing about this internet thing and thinking, "Oh, it's not going to get me. It's not going to get me." People still want to be able to sit down and read their newspaper over coffee. Yeah, they do on their phone. So the newspapers got
Yeah.
hurt by that. The libraries were hurt by that because now we're all reading things digitally. And I think the construction industry during the rise of knowledge work, which is what we saw in the 90s and the early 2000s, during the rise of knowledge work, they took a step back and go, people are still going to need stuff.
Yeah.
We still need infrastructure. We still need to build homes. We still need to pull fiber. We still need to do all these things. Nobody's going to turn away from these jobs, except it became very cool to go work for Facebook. It became very cool to go work for Google or Apple. And it became something you got to brag about to your friends. Your parents got to go and brag to their friends about the cool places their kid was working because everybody knew Google. But the trades, they ignored this opportunity to say, wait, we're cool too. And we're no longer the cool kids. And that is part of the problem. That's the reputation image issue that we have.
So, what are you, as part of Core Matters, what are the recommendations? How are you advising? What are and I know there's not an easy button in this game,
Mm. Yeah.
but, what are you doing? How are you advising?
Yeah. Here's what I know about most people in the trades. They're really cool people. Like, they are. And they care immensely about their people. But one of the problems we have is no one really knows how to communicate that. We have a lot of people in the trades that have no idea how to say, you know what? I value my people. I care about my people. I want the best for my people. Now, we'll do things. I've seen this happen before where a contractor liquidated their own retirement to make payroll during the slow season so they didn't have to lay anybody off. But they don't know how to get credit for that. They don't know how to share that with people. So these things are happening where they are demonstrating their love and care for people, yet they have no idea how to market and promote that. And so we have an industry where most people outside look in and go, they don't care about us. They call us the hands, they call us laborers, they call us the techs. They get rid of us during the slow season. When a job finishes, they lay us off and we got to go find other work or collect unemployment. That's what the outside world sees. And so one of the things we do at Core Matters is we say, you know what? You have this thing called an employer brand. And when you get really intentional about your employer brand, now this isn't going to solve the industry problem, but it solves it one company at a time. When you get really intentional about your employer brand, you can start getting credit for those things. You can start looking different to those outsiders and they go, wait a minute. I didn't know that was a thing in the trades. I didn't know that was a thing in construction. I didn't know you could go be a service, work for a service contractor and get that. I just thought being a plumber was drains and gross because that's what they make fun of on sitcoms. But we're not doing anything to say, no, wait, drains is such a small part of plumbing. Like there's so many cool things in plumbing, but we don't talk about that stuff. And so getting intentional about your employer brand, understanding how to communicate that is absolutely critical to no longer feeling this pressure in this labor crisis that we have.
Well, and thinking about Gen Z as well, they're digital first. They're
Yeah.
natives of the digital
Yeah.
first world. At Simpro, we spend a lot of time as we're communicating with the trades in our core, segments and our core markets in those social worlds or the associations of where they are. Do you think it's the same from an employee attraction perspective? You're not going to open the daily newspaper anymore and go down to the want
Yeah.
ads. Those days are gone.
Yeah. And that's why social media is so important. And I don't know where all the kids are hanging out these days, but there are a lot of places. TikTok is an amazing place to recruit because so few people are recruiting on TikTok. It used to be Facebook, and then Facebook put in all their rules and made it really hard. Now TikTok is where people are finding people. And some industries like truck drivers, and I just know this because I have a friend that does this. Truck drivers are one of the most expensive roles to fill in the nation from an advertising perspective. And there are truck driving companies that are on TikTok and they're filling positions for next to nothing because it's an untapped resource. But the problem is we have an aging industry and you've got a lot of boomers that are in the industry going, I don't know what TikTok is. I don't know how to use it. And so they ignore it and they say, I don't need to be there. But you have to be there if you want this next generation. And remember, Gen Z is in their mid 20s now. Like they've got degrees, they've been through this thing, like they're contributing members of society. And if we don't learn how to get in front of them, they're going to find other career paths besides the trades.
Hey, speaking of the Gen Z, and I've got a couple of them, in my household right now, and I'm constantly preaching. And again, they are digital natives. Work ethic, accountability, attention to detail. As we look at the trades, and I think, shoot, you and I were talking before about advances in, the world. Shoot, iPhone has only been around for 17 years. That may
Mm,
seem like a lifetime to a few, but it's really not. In the
yeah.
advances to that, in certain things over the last 5 to 8 years, have really driven the growth of field service. I'm looking at field service management platforms like Simpro have really engaged with, you know, more established companies, a lot of new companies, a lot of mobile companies. And do you think, or what is your recommendation for, clients like ours or customers like ours that are, how should they leverage technology in the recruiting process? Is it core to their DNA or should it be?
It should be. You just said it. The
Yeah,
current generation is digital natives, and
yeah,
every generation past them is digital natives. My kids haven't even seen in a TV show or a movie a phone with a cord. Right? Mine are Gen Alpha because they see the
that's
old
crazy.
movies and they're like, "This is fuzzy. We don't want to watch this." Right? They're digital natives. So we don't even get to watch old movies that I grew up with because they don't
Yeah,
look good. And these digital natives, they grew up with a tablet in their hand, a phone in their hand. They grew up in a world where Google exists. And if you had a question, you could ask Alexa or you could ask Google or you could ask, and you have it in your fingertips. And with the advent of AI now, I mean,
yeah,
that stuff's even faster. They live in a world that is always on, instant information. We have to be where they are at. There are a couple of technology tools that we use, but if you don't have them, it's kind of like managing your customer list in a pad of pen and paper, right? You
exactly.
can do it, and we did it for decades, but you're going to fall way behind the curve if that is your approach. And I know so many contractors that are using Excel sheets and Outlook calendars to manage their recruiting pipeline. You just can't do it because there are people that have embraced technology that will move faster than you. And right now, if you're slow, you lose.
Well, tech is power. And a colleague of mine, you know, has beat this into me. And, we've had the conversation about it. It is, and even you have said this, the transformation, the change starts at the top with the business owner. Technology is power, platform is power. At that level, the owner needs to be embracing it and then percolating it out to the rest of the companies. But also from, a technician perspective that's out in the field, I'm assuming they don't want to be out there with pen and paper. They want to be out there with a tablet. They want to be out there with mobile payment devices.
Yeah.
They don't want to look old school in this world.
Yeah.
Or
Especially if they
maybe
grew up
that's
on a
just me.
tablet.
Yeah.
But I know a lot that don't even wanna do that. They're just like, "Can I just fix stuff?" Like, that's what I wanna do. And I think platforms like Simpro make it easier for them
Yeah.
to do the things they don't like to do. It also makes it easier for leadership to hold your people accountable because now you have a system in place, you have a process in place. And when you take the time to be intentional about that process, you can actually put in some goalposts and say, "Hey, this is it. These are the 3 things I need you to do, and that's it. Don't go outside this." So it actually can increase the speed at which we get new technicians productive in our system because they don't have to have that muscle memory. They don't have to remember every single step. There's a system like Simpro saying, here are the things you need to do and
Yeah.
prompting them to do it.
Well, oh, I think that's amazing. And I think, Simpro is a company, we have thousands of customers on a global basis. Our company was built by a trade owner with a core mission of empowering trade services and innovations and efficiencies to help our customers drive profitability growth. And a big piece of that is retention of the
Oh,
staff.
yeah.
I think, when you and I were chatting before, we look at this business and, you gave me a great example. I'd love to elaborate on it of a client that said, if I could hire 7 or 8 more employees, I could add a few decimal points to my business. Why aren't companies embracing this and going this route to grow the business? And again, I'm in payments and I always joke that yes, nothing is for free,
Yeah.
but there's cost of doing business to grow the top line and your overall, opportunities.
I told you earlier that I don't pull punches. And so I'm just going to say it. If someone listening to this right now is struggling to keep their people, the first question they need to ask, The first person they need to ask it of is themselves. And it's, am I a part of the problem? Because here's what I know, having worked with hundreds of contractors, majority of the time, you either know who the problem is or you don't. And that means you need to look in the mirror. It's one of those things. If you don't know who the problem is in your company, it just might be you. People don't leave jobs, they leave people. And we all know this. Intrinsically, we know this. And this hurts. Think about the last person that quit or ghosted you or walked off the job site. They didn't leave a job, they left you as the employer, which needs to be a wake up call to say, maybe I need to do something differently. And I know for a lot of contractors, they grew up in the trade and they know how to do the trade, right? If you're in construction, you build stuff. If you're in service, you fix stuff. And they love that. But they didn't grow up in a world where they said, I want to learn how to be the best people leader. That wasn't what they did. That's not their background. It's not their profession. And that's why you need to work with someone like Core Matters. Quick little plug here, because we give you the tools and the training you need to become a better people leader, to put systems and processes, just like Simpro can keep you in a lane and keep your techs focused so they do the things you need to do. We have systems and processes to do the exact same thing. So when you have an employee who ghosts you or calls out or is dealing with a personal issue or their performance is dropped all of a sudden or they're not closing at the rate that you need them to, we have systems and tools where you can just pull up a script and say, this is the conversation I need to have. This is what I need to do next. And it takes all of that, I don't know how to do this, out of it and says, just follow the process. And it makes it so much easier to retain those people. But I think the reason people aren't interested in investing in this to move the decimal point over a couple digits is because it's not just a check they have to write. There's some work they have to do. And that's the hard part. It's really easy to write that check to the gym every month. But if you don't get off the couch and get on the treadmill, you're going to struggle. It's the same thing here.
Well, you're absolutely correct. The hard part is, getting off the couch. The hard part is kind of that back office infrastructure, all of these things that, a lot of the trades have grown up. I love fixing things.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a core component of running your business. And by the way, there's a big people component in that as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You touched on it a little earlier on the AI component. And at Simpro, we are constantly leveraging AI, looking at new ways to create efficiencies. Optimization might be a big word, but looking at ways that we can tweak algorithms to help drive more efficiency and simplicity. And I get it, AI is not going to solve all problems. But what are you seeing, hearing, feeling, counseling, advising a lot of your clients as it relates to leveraging some of the AI capabilities out there?
So where I draw the line with AI right now is AI is not the be all end all going to solve your problems of any kind. I think it does two things really, really well. The one it does better than anything else is ideate. It helps you come up with ideas. So you can type into AI, I've got this problem that I don't know how to solve. And here's what's happening as a result of this problem. Can you give me a list of ideas on things that I need to look at or questions I need to ask or things I need to do to solve that problem? AI is amazing at that. It the downside of that though is it's just regurgitating what it was trained on. And so if you're in an industry like construction who struggled with recruiting, don't ask AI how to write a better job description because all it's going to do is tell you about all the job descriptions it knows about, which are all the ones that don't work for anybody in the industry. But it helps with the ideas. The other thing it can help with is it can help you document some of your processes. And this is what I love about AI is you can say, hey, you know what? My techs are struggling with this piece. Can you help me build a quick little checklist or a quick little process to make sure they don't miss anything? And what it does not perfect and it's not going to hit everything, but it'll get you 80% of the way there, which is way better than starting from scratch. So those are the two places that we see AI being really effective in the people space is helping you come up with new ideas on how to solve problems inside the company. And then the other one is building these processes and these systems out so that your techs are doing what your CSRs are doing what they need to do. It doesn't matter. Everybody in the company can use it for that.
As we come to an end of this fabulous conversation. What is exciting? I mean, leveraging technology and a lot of the components that you've seen, what's exciting you the most of kind of what's next? I mean, you're always looking around the corner, at next opportunities and advancements. What do you think it is?
I think if we play our cards right, and this is the part we have to be careful of, because
Yeah.
uh, I forget what it was, but it was a study that looked at one of the reasons that Americans are so overweight. And it's because we've automated so many of the things that usually cause exercise. We don't blend our own shakes anymore by hand. We have a blender, right? We have all these tools to help us do these things. And what we do is, instead of saying, "Oh, I have more time to exercise or more time to these other things," we fill it with the things that perpetuate that same problem we had before, which is, I don't have enough time. But here's what I love about technology, and here's where I think we're going. If we do this right and we embrace technology, it'll free us up from a lot of the monotony, the things that are just time consumers, time wasters, checking boxes. It'll free us up from that so we can focus more on the human connection. And that's where we're missing in the trades right now. Is there's a lack of human connection, because the way my grandfather did it was, we didn't connect with the people, they just got to work and they were excited and it paid well. But now there's so many other jobs they can look at where there is human connection. And that's the thing we're missing in the trades. We're missing empathy. We're missing communication. We're missing conversations. We're missing this ability to connect with people so they feel a sense of belonging. And if we do it right, we can use technology to get rid of those time wasters so we can spend more time there. And that's a big part of the problem, and how we're solving it over at Core Matters is we're teaching people how to be better leaders, spend more time with their people. And when people are following you and they trust you and they're bought in and they feel like they belong, they'll walk to the ends of the earth with you. And that solves the retention problem.
That's absolutely amazing. And you nailed it. At the end of the day, no matter how much technology we have, how much innovation, how much AI, we are all in the people business. Period.
Absolutely.
End of story. The technology will help drive some of that engagement, but we're in the people business. This has been fabulous. Again, every time we have a conversation, I get inspired about the opportunities that all of us in the field service management space can drive the impact and the change, leveraging technology, leveraging platforms, but also in some of the core methodologies that you've outlined. It's fabulous. I would be remiss if we left here. How do people get in touch with you? How can they find you
Yeah.
and absorb some of this wisdom?
Yeah. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you haven't already, connect with me on LinkedIn, Ryan England, Englin. Or you can go to my website, corematters.com. And the website has a whole bunch of free resources and education material, as well as links to my podcast. But it also gives you insight into our process and how we do what we do. And if you see that and you go, you know what? I love having a systemized approach to solving my people problems. That's what you're going to learn about on my website. And I encourage you, schedule time to meet with me and let's talk about it, because life's too short to be dealing with a problem that the industry's been dealing with for decades. Like, let's solve it. And it can be solved. You don't believe me? Go check out my case studies. Tons of people telling you how they got it solved and they didn't believe it could be done. And it's really not that difficult.
Amazing. Thank you very much, sir. And service pros out there, this has been a fabulous discussion. It does really encapsulate the core components of technology, innovation, optimization, but in marketing, and at the end of the day, it truly is about human capital is the growth engine to the business. Ryan, thank you very much.